Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And tonight I'd like to discuss future plans. Tonight I have been meditating, contemplating, and trying to figure out where my path is leading me. My spirit guides and my instincts are leading me somewhere that deals with self evolution, knowledge, wisdom, gnosis, most importantly, self apotheosis. Everyone in the dark arts knows, or any form of sorcery, knows that the greatest alchemical change a practitioner can make is within themselves. You see, that change begins here, internally, before it can happen out there in the world. Now, a while back, I closed the doors to the Order of the Black Thorn, which was a group that I created on Facebook and here on YouTube, which this channel was actually a part of. It was a order, a religious foundation that had multiple layers to it. And some of those layers entailed not only allowing our members to feel like they belong, but also something to work towards. And it's funny because of the fact that since I closed down that order and I started focusing more upon my own personal journey, I started pulling back from social media. I've been getting a lot of messages from people wondering, hey, you doing okay? What are your plans now that you're no longer with DS, dark sorcery? Where do you suppose the spirits are guiding you? Well, to be fair, I have no freaking clue. I don't even know where to begin right now. Okay. I just knew that the first stage of self apotheosis is to acknowledge the fact that something is not working. You see, the alchemical change begins with identifying that which does not work within your sorcery, within your surroundings. Is there some form of toxic or venom that is preventing you from achieving enlightenment? Most recently, out of nowhere, I've been studying necromancy and really delving into the old world, specifically that of Slavic and Baltic, Germanic regions, even Swedish. The Icelandic and Scandinavian traditions, not just that of the Gaelic or that of the Slavic. Mostly it's been around the Slavic. And I do know that the Slavic witchcraft also deals with Haitian Voodoo or Voodoo in general. So the fact that the other day when I was meditating, I was in deep meditation, I had the ends playing right over here with the headphones in. I was blindfolded, and I was just sitting here while the incense filled the room. And I had this image come to me. Technically, it was three different images, but they came to me. And I did the research, and I even had it confirmed by voodoo practitioners, more powerful than myself in this one particular field. And they suggested a room, but at the same time, they were talking about the lesser, or what is classified as the lesser Loa. Okay. And I found that interesting because I didn't realize that there was a lesser classification of voodoo, especially that of Loa. I mean, when you're studying New Orleans or African based traditions, you tend to see one or the other, but not a third. Not a third, because normally you see two different types of practices from either a Bokor, a Hangan, Mamba, or Membo, I should say, but not a third. So when this was confirmed, I went out and I did my research into this family of Loa. And I found out that this was a Haitian Loa family. And it was surrounded by the first practitioner to be elevated into this family. His name was, or is, Papa Nebo, okay? AKA Papa Gedi, okay? And basically, the Gedi family of Loa are a non ancestral family of Loa. They're not even associated with ancestral lineage. But yet, this family of Loa, which is considered to be the third classification or level of Loa, reached out to me. I found this very, very interesting because I haven't practiced voodoo in a long time. I have not really delved in on a professional level when it comes to voodoo. Not mentioning Haitian voodoo, and even though I've been extremely attracted to this practice for years. But I didn't understand with the current journey that I'm on, why would a Loa, especially one of a third level Loa, okay, a third denomination or class of Loa, reach out to me? To this day, I still do not know because I have not had any further communication with this spirit. I've called out to this spirit. I've invited him to come into my chamber, to even go as far as possessing me, to bestow his gnosis upon me. Why did he reach out to me? What is it about me that attracts him to me? Okay. I did not know this. And so far, I still have no answers to it. But one thing I can say is patience is a virtue. There's a time and a place for everything to be revealed. Hey, Holly. So, I was talking with a brother of mine tonight, earlier tonight, and we were discussing my future. What I do, what I join his order, his foundation. And I was thinking strongly about doing that. But then they sent me a PDF, okay, which is basically a legal contract stating whatever I post in their group belongs to them and not me, even though it's my content. Now, that doesn't sit well with me, but their plans do align with what I'm doing. But at the same time, I have my own contracts, my own dealings, my own journey to fulfill. Now, I don't know what the future holds. What I do know is that Voodoo in itself does deal both with necromancy, but also sorcery of witchcraft. And I found it very interesting that the first ladder of this, the first half of this, necromancy, fit into this. And I'm kind of curious to see where else this is going to lead to. Because I've been a Satanist, a traditional Satanist for a long time. And over the last 19 months, we're on my 19th month of this journey into necromancy. That takes dedication and commitment. But to see necromancy turn up into this, when I've been studying Slavic sorcery, Slavic witchcraft, delving into the old wives' tales, the old folk tales, the folklore surrounding this particular tradition. And to see where Voodoo, specifically that of Haitian Voodoo, a system of Voodoo that is highly attractive to me, speaks also on necromancy. And here I am being contacted, or at least presented with a image of Papa Gedi himself. This I found very, very interesting and intriguing. So I've been delving into research mode. And the rest of this week, even though I'm going to be doing a few more videos this week, I'm definitely going to be delving into research. I'm definitely going to be hitting the books on Voodoo that I have in my personal library. I'm going to be delving into all the necromantic books and seeing how this really does play an effect. Not only are these spirits, but the fact that you also have the zombie myth, the vampiric myth, the lycanthrope myth, the baneful sorceries that go along with it. It's not just a upbeat religion. And by upbeat, I mean the whole dancing, the chanting, and the incredible ceremonies that go along with it. But the rich and extremely potent background history, going back hundreds of years. Not just the last 300 years, going all the way back to the revolution of the Dominican Republic and that of Haiti. And how these groups formed what was known today as guerrillas, who utilized their potency in magic and sorcery, becoming one with these spirits. But to see Papa Nebo, aka Papa Gedi, being the first elevated Loa from being a practitioner, an actual person. I find it very interesting that even on my own current journey, apotheosis can lead you into godhood. to become more than human, if you wish, an immortal. But can that be said within a form of, say, legend, your legend, your legacy that people remember for generations to come? Or is that physically transforming your body into the undead state, like that of a zombie, the zombie mythos? Is it becoming an immortal in itself? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. And that always begins with yourself. That always begins here. Not just here, but here. Dedication, commitment, research, study, practice, and applications of being applied unto your life. This is where it begins. Those of you who practice alchemy understand the alchemical change. The oath of a sorcerer, for an example. You're dedicating yourself to a higher cause, something more than just being an average mundane. See, I've always been dedicated and committed to education, to higher learning, to spirituality. Hell, I became an ordained minister, for crying out loud. So, I mean, I started my own order, got a couple good groups going, got a lot of dedicated practitioners applying their knowledge and learning. That's a good thing. It really is. But after 10 years of teaching others, I think it's time to focus on me. So I'm going to start focusing on myself. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop helping you or even sharing what I know with you. There are things that I can share with you, and then there's obviously that I cannot. But the things that I can share with you will benefit you in the long run if you're self-motivated to seek out that apotheosis on your own. I can open the doors for you just as they open the doors for me. That's called being a master and an apprentice. Or if you want to follow the whole Jedi thing, the Sith, master and apprentice, the two. I always did like those until I found out that the Sith are actually known as the people of the mounds. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Irish folklore. But if you go into Scottish, they become known as the Sidi. Imagine that apotheosis, that knowledge, that, and seeking the information, seeing the links to how they contributed to the former Magi, the mages and the sages of old, the witches, the warlocks, the wizards, the Agi, the Hexa, the Strega, and yes, even the shamans and the medicine men, right down to the necromancers. Seeing what they can do and to share, not just them, but the elven, the demons, the Devi, the Jinn, the Ugan, the Loa. Is anybody else seeing a pattern to these spirits? I do. And when they speak, I listen. I listen. Because when they come to me, there's a reason behind it. It's a humbling experience when they speak to you. when they come to you and show you things, to point things out to you, even to lead you or to inspire you for something. When you work with Abaddon, he will destroy everything around you, but he will create something much more fruitful out of the ashes, just like a phoenix. It bursts into flames, it gets destroyed, it destroys its old self. But then out of those ashes, a new circle of life begins. That is sorcery. That is spiritualism. And at some point, you got to take spirituality serious. This means both offensive and defensive, but also you got to take it into your own hands and apply what you've learned from these spirits. This is stuff that I've done for a while, a long while. But it wasn't until this path that I'm on that I really understood that apotheosis fully. So over the next few days, the next few weeks, I'm going to be focusing solely on myself. I'm going to be coming in after work, even during family time, and I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be studying. I'm going to be practicing. I'm going to be experimenting, and I'm going to be applying it to my life. It's time to focus on me and mine. Me and mine. But I'm also going to be teaching through my own videos. And I hope that the topics inspire you. And I do hope that if I give you a source or sources, references, that you go out and you look at them, you study them, and you learn for yourself. Take notes, create a journal, create a grimoire, and see where your sorcery leads you. You'd be surprised at what gates and what doors will open for you the more you apply yourself. This is, for me, is where one road ends and another one begins. This is the fork in the proverbial road. The line has come to an end on one lane. But now I have two options. I have two options ahead of me. It's time to follow the wizard. The yellow brick road, and to let the spirits guide. That's what I'm planning to do. What about you? Are you tired of that same old, same old? Are you tired of the fakes, the armchair magicians, the haters? Are you tired of doing everything without any guidance, without any aid? I mean, think about it. If you're running a Facebook group, doesn't it seem like you're the only one doing it? Even though you've got probably 4 or 5 other admins, maybe even moderators involved, and yet you're the one doing everything? Or perhaps you've been running your own order for 10 years, for 10 long years. And it's gotten to the point where it's like you're going through the motions. Perhaps it's time to get back to basics, to find and rediscover yourself and what you're capable of doing, and unlocking those doors once again, blowing them wide open and walking through them. with that of the spirits that walk beside you and are willing to walk beside you, to teach you, and to guide you. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to walk that line? Are you willing to see how far they're willing to take you? I'm reminded of a saying from the first movie, The Matrix, when Morpheus is sitting there in the chair at the first meeting with Neo. And he holds out his hands and he has a blue pill and a red pill. The red pill, you see how far down the rabbit hole goes, and the blue pill, you go back to sleep, living amongst the sheep and the drones of the world. Or you can take that red pill and see just how far these spirits are willing to guide you, to teach you, and to raise you up from the ashes. You see, this is what this is what I meant in my last video this morning. Our two agendas were no longer in cahoots. There was a lot of things that were just piling up to the point where I could not overlook them anymore. It was time to deal with them, which is why I separated. And I've gone my own way. And today, while I was at work, I was thinking about this, and I was talking to a coworker, and I was reminded that going back to basics is not a bad thing. It really isn't. Sometimes we have to go back to go forward. Think about that for just a minute. Do you remember back when you were in high school and you were learning, let's say AP 1 or 2 or whatever, math class, chem lab or algebra, whatever type of math that they teach nowadays compared to when, generation X or Y was in school, today they have these new methods of doing math that it's like it leaves the rest of us like, what the fuck are you doing? We don't understand this theory, this practice, you know. So sometimes to go ahead, you got to go back. Look at long division. Look at compound fractures, algebra. Look at basic math. One begets one, right? Especially in multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1. But what would happen if by going back, you decide this time around, I'm going to times it by 2. I wonder what that would bring. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 6, 8, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Just think about it for just a minute. Every time you multiply, you're becoming more knowledgeable. You're becoming stronger. You're able to stand on your own 2 feet, which is basically what the spirits are trying to get you to do. Take your personal destiny by the reins and see where your journey takes you. Don't be led by somebody else. Somebody like me, all I can do is open those doors of curiosity to you. All I can do is give you that proverbial apple It's up to you to take that bite and become enlightened. So by going back, you're in fact rediscovering your roots, your destiny, what made you who you are today. So what do you say? You want to go back with me? You want to see what made you who you are today? I'm going to look back at my past and see how I've crossed this country so many times, all the battles, all the challenges, the scars, and yes, even the shedding of blood, tears, and breaking of bones plays a huge part in my past. Trust me, I got the pins in my thumb to prove it. I have scars on my skin from battles and teeth marks from a canine that bit me in the ass once. That was an interesting experience. All I was doing was riding my bike. But my point is, these experiences play a pivotal role within your life, within your destiny, your development as you've grown. When you pick your chosen path, be it Satanism, voodoo, necromancy, witchcraft, shamanism, there are different aspects to them. What is it about these that intrigued you? What is it about them that fascinated you so much that you decided, I want to pick up a book on Satanism, or I want to I want to pick up a book on Santa Morte. This book on Palo Mayambe, the book of Palo Mayambe, speaks to me. I want to know everything there is to know about Palo Mayambe. Where does it come from? Where does it hail from? Maybe you picked up 3 books on voodooism. Say, for example, Haitian Voodoo, Voodoo Visions, the complete book of voodoo. Just 3 books that I just threw out there. And yes, you can get these off Amazon or eBay. Yeah, hell, you could probably get them off, say, like Lulu Publishing, or perhaps one of those more modern day metaphysics shops. Hell, if you can get yourself down to, say, New Orleans, you could probably find these books at any one of these occult shops. Or you can learn from a practitioner. The one thing I've learned from Sorceress Cagliostro is that by communing with the reincarnated, they can really guide you and teach you. You can get first rate knowledge of the way things used to be. Voodoo's the same thing, necromancy's the same thing, shamanism's the same thing. We all utilize spiritual conjuration and reanimation. We all use blood sorcery and bloodletting techniques. The only thing that separates necromancy from shamanism is the methods employed. That's it. Outside of that, it is the same damn thing. Same damn practice. But if somebody like me doesn't lead you to these conclusions, your journey into apotheosis. Think about that for just a moment. I really want you to think about this. Alchemy comes in many forms, not just physical or emotional. Well, Satan knows this about me. There's a lot of emotional damage in the background of me. So many wars have left me, well, I believe the term is glutton for punishment, so to speak. I like pain. I do. I enjoy it, actually. I like messing with people's minds sometimes, especially my coworkers, especially when they annoy the living hell out of me right off the bat when I first log in to go to work. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. But my point is, what has made you who you are today? That teacher, what point in your history? What point in your history set you along this course? I mean, I was very haughty in my youth. Okay, I'm going to tell you this straight. I was very haughty. It was my way or the highway. And be damned whoever got in my way. The funny thing is, people told me that if I ended up getting to my destination, certain things weren't coming back with me, like my car or you know my money or the money that I had. It just wasn't going to be enough. And then they sit there with their jaw hanging down when I pulled it off. I had so many people telling me back then, you can't do this, that can't be done, this can't be done. And yet I'm the guy that proved them wrong. Like I was some kind of soldier of fortune. I was haughty. I was angry. Damn, I was so freaking angry back then. I'm actually glad the military didn't take me because that military career would have been short-lived. But as time went on, I learned from many shamans, many poleros, some bruja, learned from many different practices. And then about 10 years ago, I met a man that changed my life forever. 10 years ago, exactly, as of last month, the 13th of last month, this man introduced me to to the ministry. He asked a whole bunch of us sitting in this camper, where do we see ourselves 5 to 10 years from now? What do we want to do with our lives? Me, I didn't have a fucking clue. I was completely clueless. Everybody else had already thought about this shit. But then he turned to me and he asked me, and I told him point blank, I don't know. I thought about going to college and getting my PhD. You know, I thought about, ministry. I thought about this and that. But, it's like, to be honest, I'm just me, you know? And he looked at me. He leaned forward and he looked right at me, right in the eyes. And he said, I've watched how you handle the other patrons, the other brothers and sisters. You listen. You give sound advice through your experiences. And most importantly, you're patient with them. Have you ever considered joining the clergy? I looked right at him. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I will never become a Christian. He says, you don't have to be a Christian minister. He said, you can literally become what is known as a universal clergy member. Now, I've never even heard of this until I did my research into it. I gave my word for 3 years. I would be his apprentice. I even traveled down to Texas, back to Maine. I came to Maine, went down to South Tucson, came back. Except for when I came back from Texas that second time, I came back as an ordained minister. And I tried going back to that to his foundation, and it did not work for me. I stayed probably about 3 months before I left. By 2013, I had opened the doors to the Order of the Black Thorn. And it became popular. Everybody have heard about it. Hell, one guy in this area actually thought I was a fucking myth, a legend. You remember what I said earlier? About becoming immortal? Finding your godhood? Could it be being remembered as a myth, a legend? All the works that I've done in this city since 2013, I've made enemies, but I've also made allies. I have a good rapport with the police departments. I'm on good terms with other ministers. We don't go around stepping on each other's toes, even though you find a few that really want to do that to you, but still, that's just life. Well, that's up to you if you don't want to be remembered. Me, I'm only in it for the knowledge and the wisdom, the power that comes across with being a sorcerer, with being a practitioner. But I want to test myself and become more powerful. The knowledge and the wisdom that you learn over the ages, that is something that you cannot buy. That is something that you cannot take for granted. That is something that you have to earn. And I've earned my right to be a minister. I've earned everything that I have today. You know, I have a family of my own as well. So there's a lot that I have to consider and reflect upon. Not just what to do about the haters that are out there, but also what to do with my own personal future within social media. Do I continue teaching? Or do I just decide, like E.A. Quetting did, to perhaps this is a time to, how should I say this? Perhaps this is a time to walk away from it, become solitary again. He chose the latter and became the head of Balg. How to become a living god. There are beings out there very powerful that can teach you and to guide you. And that's what I'm going to be reflecting on over the rest of this week, in between studying and practicing. But I'm going to be communing with them because I'm going to let them guide me, because they're in a position to see things that I don't see. They're in a position to know what's best for me and my best interest, especially with my goals. Not only am I doing things for them, but they're doing things for me at the same time. It's a mutual beneficial relationship. So the time, yeah, I got to remember this is not my touch screen. Yep, I keep touching the screen over here, trying to get things to get out of the way. Yeah, one of the things I may want to invest in is learning technology, becoming better equipped with that. This this was a hand-me-down computer, and it's not a touch screen like my new one. But anyways, that's my goal. And when we're talking about the future, remember this: it starts with you. It starts with you, not me, but you. You got to be the one to say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm tired of being in these encampments. I'm tired of being in these trenches. I'm tired of doing the same old, same old. I want to evolve. I want to challenge myself. I want to become more than what I am. Only you can do that for yourselves. You got to find that self motivation. And as of today, I've got time to do that. And I think that's the best and logical choice to make, is to get back to basics, to study, to practice, and to commune with the spirits, to see where they're guiding me to and what they have in store for me. That's my plan for the future. And we'll take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. Who knows? Maybe they'll do that Ouroboros thing and bring me right back to dark sorcery. Who knows? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But they may take me into something more beneficial. Maybe Buddhism. Maybe Zen. Who knows? Or maybe simply guide me into voodooism through necromancy practices, which is, at this point, it's the most logical case. And you look at Baba Gadi, necromancy. I did not see that coming. But it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Till further notice, I'm going to end this on a high note. I got to go see what my better half needed. And well, for one thing, sir, I'll tell you this. Stop giving your power away to wannabes, to distractions. There's a little thing called Forged in Sorcery. My advice is to check out Father Sebastian's work. Incredible. And yes, vampirism was a path that I started out in. It was just one of them. Father Sebastian was actually one of the best godfathers I've ever gotten a chance to know. All right. With that said, have a good night. And until next time, Agios Satanas.